Hello, you divine beings. So, I would like to share with you today my first, pretty much my only near-death experience. I've had many out-of-body experiences, but this is my first near-death experience. So, when I was 14, I had just been diagnosed with leukemia. I had just spent, this was October, late October, early November of 2001. So you can do the math and figure out how old I am. But I was 14, and I had just gotten out of the hospital after having spent almost 10 weeks in the hospital after my first experiences with chemo and leukemia and all that great stuff and infections and yada, yada, yada. So on this particular day, it was about 3 days after I'd gotten released from the hospital. We had just found out that my spine, 3 of my lumbar vertebrae had collapsed. So the bones of the vertebrae had gotten stress fractures because of not moving, because of medications, and so they collapsed. So that was giving me a lot of back pain. And the fix for that was to get a back brace fitted for myself and to wear that for a few months until my spine, those bones, healed back together. Now, that morning, I had not eaten anything. I was with my dad and my little brother, who was 4 at the time, and I had just gotten a lot of blood work taken. And so, in the early afternoon, probably around 11, 12, we went to get my back brace fitted. And we walk into the little building. The guy was really nice. My dad and him started hitting it off, talking, about music and stuff. My dad's a musician, so talking about music. And I started feeling a little fuzzy, a little dizzy. And what I had to do is I just had to hold on to these kind of like parallel bars, just stand there. And he just had to take this mold of my torso, so that he could then he could send it off and they could fit the back brace for my actual dimensions. Not a mold, it was more like measurements and like a weird mold. So I'm just standing there. As I'm standing there, I'm just starting to get fuzzier and fuzzier, dizzier and dizzier. And I'd had this problem previously because I'd passed out a few times when my blood counts were really low in the hospital. So a few, a month prior, 2 months prior. And so getting fuzzier, I'm just kind of, praying like talking to myself in my head, like, you're okay, you just gotta keep, just stand up, hold yourself up. So we get finished with everything. My dad and the tech, they're just kind of chit-chatting. We begin to walk out of the building. I'm leading the way because I really need to get to the car. By that time, I'm really getting fuzzy, like my vision is narrowing. I'm feeling the tingles everywhere in my body. I am just getting really, really, really dizzy. And so my dad is at the entrance, still of the building, just kind of talking and joking with this guy. My brother is holding my dad's hand, and I'm probably about 40, 50 yards, 50 meters ahead of them, so about half a football field. I get to my dad's truck, and I sit on the lip of the truck, not the truck bed, but the lip of the truck, and I just rest my elbows on my elbows, and I start staring at the ground, and I'm getting fuzzier, and my vision is narrowing and narrowing and narrowing, and I look up to my left, where my dad is, probably about 20, 30 meters away from me, and he can see, obviously, something's wrong. And he goes, "Zach, what's the matter?" And all I could say was, "I'm gonna pass." And everything went black. And not only did everything go black, but simultaneously, I ended up in this tunnel of luminescent, white, golden, silvery light. And I saw this black, shadowy figure that looked like it was wearing a trench coat, probably about 20 meters away from me. And all I could do was look around and felt this inner penetrating peace and love all around me and moving all the way through me. It was so magnificent and beautiful. I just was like, after the last 2.5 months, I could take a breath and just be. But after kind of trying to take in this wonder, this magnificence, this magic, this love that was moving through and around me, I've refocused on that black shadowy figure, and I could not make out a face, but for whatever reason, I had this really strong feeling that it was my grandpa who had died 7 years previously. And to be honest with you, I can't remember a conversation other than this impression that this figure that I deemed my grandpa was telling me that everything was going to be okay. And that sounds so frickin' cliche. It does, it sounds so cliche. But it was not only that I was going to make it through all the cancer treatment, the chemo, all that stuff, but everything was going to be okay. And it was almost like we had this inaudible conversation that I just can't really remember, other than him communicating with me that all is well. No, everything is okay. Everything is good. And so after what seemed like an eternity of just existing in this space of beauty, of magic, of eternal love, I wasn't told I had to go back. I wasn't told I could stay. All that happened was immediately I got sucked out and everything went black again. And then I started hearing voices. But I wasn't yet in my body, if that makes sense. I was in like a tunnel that was connected to my body somehow. Like a black tunnel. And don't take black as a negative. It was just like a tunnel that I interpreted as black or emptiness, connected to my body, and I could hear, "Zach, wake up! Zach, wake up! Zach, wake up!" And then I heard another voice, "Is he okay? Do you want me to call somebody? Do you need me to call 911? Is he okay? Zach, wake up! Zach, wake up! What do you need me to do? Zach, wake up!" And then the tingles started to set in again, and I felt like I re-inhabited my body. And I couldn't open my eyes just yet, but I said, "I'm okay. I just can't open my eyes just yet." And it was my dad's voice and another unknown voice that I didn't know who this person was, who was asking if they needed to do anything. So eventually the sensation, my nervous system came back online, and I was able to open my eyes probably within like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And my dad was, frantic, freaked out. My little brother, Jake, he's just probably terrified at 4 years old. Like, oh my God, my brother has been in the hospital for 2.5 months, and now he's just laying there, look like he's dead. Can only imagine. Can only imagine the trauma and PTSD that he experiences. All my family members experience. But so I woke up, and kind of got moving, got up. I was sitting there for a little while, got up, got into the truck, was kind of feeling just really weak, but okay, and went and got some food, which was McDonald's, unfortunately. Never again. I was 14, I didn't know any better. But went and got McDonald's, felt better. But on the drive, I just had this feeling like I needed to tell my dad, because that my grandpa was his father. And I needed to tell him that I had seen, or at least I thought I had seen Grandpa. So I said, Dad, when I went out, I ended up in this tunnel of light, of like really beautiful light. And I think I saw Grandpa there. He was there. And my dad got a little panicked, as he should. His son's going through cancer treatment, chemotherapy, all these medications and all that, potentially could die. And then he's in this tunnel of white light, like, I'm sure he'd be super panicked. So his eyes kind of, he's like, oh, did he say anything? What did he say? I said, he didn't tell me really anything other than that all was well, like that everything was okay. That's all I can really remember. And I said, but he was wearing a trench coat, which was really weird. But I couldn't make out his face. It was just like a black figure. And so he took it in stride, and we kind of talked about it, and then that was the end of that. And so I in my 14-year-old mind, I was trying to rationalize it, like, oh, I probably just had like a weird hallucinogenic experience, like maybe I hit my head, I don't know. Funny fact is that I never hit my head, because my dad, 20 or 30 yards away from me, had actually caught me as I was about to hit the ground. So somehow he had turned on his angel wing shoes, his flash shoes, and actually caught me, which is pretty impressive, because I was out. So I never hurt myself or fell to the ground. He actually caught me and then laid me on the ground. Anyways, I was trying to, just rationalize in my head, I didn't know what I had just experienced. I knew what I had experienced, but I thought I had made it all up. I wasn't looking for any spiritual answers at the time. I just wanted God to make me better. And so about 2 weeks later, my dad pulls out a picture that he had found randomly, looking through all his old pictures. And he showed it to me, and it was my grandpa wearing a trench coat of the exact length that he was wearing when I saw him in the tunnel. So that was my affirmation that I did actually experience. I'd never seen that picture before, but I did actually experience the tunnel. So that's my near-death experience. To be honest with you, it probably was the catalyst to me asking a lot more questions. I always had family members, my grandma, my dad, my mom, primarily my paternal grandmother. She was a very spiritual individual who always showed me a lot of videos, not videos, but books, and took me to different people that kind of introduced me to these things which I thought were crazy, and now I'm talking about as an adult. But I don't know where I went with that. That was my catalyst. I'll probably share one of my other 2 out-of-body experiences that I really that were really kind of awakening and eye-opening for me. But that one in particular, as much as anybody who's experienced something like that will say, you know, I'm not afraid to die anymore. And I didn't really experience the not afraid to die until I became later and began to understand what that experience actually was. I can say that now, death, the experience of death, to me it was literally like taking a seat in another chair. I went out and then I was there. I got up and then I sat down, you know. Sorry, my battery just died. But death was no longer a fear of mine currently. And that experience helped me to understand that everything is okay. All is well. We don't know as much as we think we do with our conscious thinking brains. The more we analyze and the more we try to quantify the whole of experience, the less magic that we actually allow for there to be. Because ultimately, there's so much more than we could ever fathom. And that experience for me was the reminder of that. And that the essence of everything actually is love, is that peace. That tunnel that I was in wasn't just for that place. It was for me to not grasp, that's a bad word. It was for me to recognize in my daily living life that was all around me and within me, just as I felt it before. It's just that in this reality, we tend to be a bit more dense physically and mentally. And because of that, we forget the lightness, the love, the peace, the joy that is our very nature. And those are my lessons. So, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you liked it, leave a comment or share. Life is beautiful. Everything is okay. All is well. I love you guys. See you next time.